I have the power supply from my storage locker. Something came to me when I went up there to retrieve it. That was that it was not necessary that I bring down the entire tower to the house with me. I could merely take this out and leave the rest where it is, because it is all I needed anyway. Now those of you who are unfamiliar with computer parts might look at this and think, man, that's a lot of wires you got there. You're right, it is a lot of wires. But for right now, I'm only concerned with this, which I previously referred to as the jugular or something like that. I have since learned that it is called a pin connector. None of the other wires resemble it in any way, so it will be what I will be focusing my attention on. According to what I've learned in my search on YouTubepedia, this is how I'm supposed to be able to test a power supply, if it is good or not, without having to connect it to the motherboard inside of a computer. Now, I'm not sure how much of this is in focus or not, but there is a green wire here. And this green wire is connected to one of the pins, and if you're able to see it, it's a bunch of darker wires, and I believe these three below it are black. So according to what I found in my YouTubepedia search, they say take a piece of wire, which I have here, stick one of them inside the pin of the green wire, another end inside the pin of one of the black ones, and then power up the power supply to see if the internal fan of it works. So I'm going to give that a shot. It looks like okay, so I've got that all the way inside. The pin connector associated with the green, and now I'll connect the other end to one of the black ones, and I'm assuming it probably does not make any difference which one of the black ones. So if this is in focus, you would be able to see that you have a circular wire going in one of the pin connectors and the other end inside of the other pin connectors. So I've completed the circuit. So now it'll be time to connect the power supply to AC power and see if the internal fan, and just to show you that much, this is the power outlet where the plug is going to be connected to it, and this here is the internal fan. So if the connectors are connected properly, and this is a good power supply, then once I complete everything else I need to do, this fan should be seen spinning. So I'm ready to test out this power supply for lights. The connection is together as far as I can make it. And of course, if this doesn't provide any positive results in the beginning, then I may have to try a different connecting wire or something. But I did push both of these in as far as I could, and let's see what happens. Well, actually I'm going to turn it because the fan is right here, and I wouldn't be able to see. So okay, you may not be able to see it clearly, but the fan is turning. I just turned it off in the off position, and now I'm going to hit the on button again. So that is definitely good news. That means that this power supply here is a working, operational, productive power supply. Now that I've verified that the replacement power supply is good, it's just a matter of removing this power supply and replacing it with the other one. I had spoken before about taking some pictures to make sure everything is connected and understand those connections. Now that I think about it, that may not be necessary. We have the pin connector here. We have 2 hard drives. So, and then we have this drive here. So it's a total of, besides the pin connector to the motherboard, there looks to be 1, 2, 3 connectors, and that's not a whole lot of connectors to have to worry about remembering them. Only thing that I'll need to do when I take this out and I put the replacement power supply in it is to make sure I have power connectors going to 1, 2, 3 items and the pin connector to the motherboard. And that'll be it. So now the power supplies are swapped out. I have the old one taken out, and I have the replacement one in its place. One thing I didn't expect to happen, I noticed that there were 2 hard drives in there, which I pointed out when I was talking about the items that needed to be connected. So as I was disconnecting everything, I noticed that the second hard drive didn't have anything connected to it. And then I remembered that Verna had told me she had replaced the hard drive some years ago. So since the second hard drive didn't have anything connected to it, what I did was I pulled that out completely. The usable hard drive was just sitting in here loosely, and I didn't have any screws to put it in, so what I decided to do was take the screws out of this one and put them into the usable hard drive, so it is sitting there properly. So now that I've got all of that taken care of, it's time for me to hook it up to a monitor and see if there is any activity, or see what exactly I am going to see when I have it hooked up to a monitor. I have a monitor here that I haven't used in, I guess, about 10 years ago. This is it. It is actually so old there's spiderwebs growing on it. It's been sitting in here unused, and I plan on putting it out on the trash. That's another thing that I had planned on throwing out, but just hadn't gotten to throwing it out yet. Because I would say around last year that I was using it, the color started to bleed, which means that the monitor is bad and there's no way that it can get fixed. So I plan on throwing it out. I'm not sure how that's going to affect the type of picture or display I'll get when I hook this up, if I get anything. But we did verify that this replacement power supply is indeed working. So that was a positive sign. Okay, so I pressed the power button on the front, and I've toggled the button that's directly connected to the power supply on the back, and nothing is happening. Not even the fan is spinning on the power supply. And I did verify that the power supply is good before transplanting it into the body of this machine. So I can't say for certain just why the PC is not coming up. Yep, I'm completely stumped on this one here. I decided to take a second look at the power supply that I removed from the body of the PC, which I have here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to perform an ISO test on it like I did on the replacement one before I put it in. I verified that the replacement power supply was working before I put it in. After I put it in and turned the body of the computer on, I got nothing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to perform the ISO test on this original power supply. I'm kind of hoping it doesn't work, because if it doesn't work, then that means the power supply is dead, and I still have other things to try and think of. But if this power supply comes on, then that means that Verna's issues are a lot more serious, such as a dead motherboard. So need to find that green wire. Okay, got that one in, and I'm supposed to do one of the black ones. So I've got it all the way in there. And so now, and by the way, this here is the fan, the internal fan. Okay, so this guy's connected the same way, and the fan's not coming on inside of this power supply. So that may eliminate the possibility of a dead motherboard.